everybody, to the Blink Weekly Newsletter 101s with Bianca Lager. Let's dive in. Question of the week: what advice do you have for young women in tech? I'm just starting my career and was super excited to get a job at a SaaS company startup. But everyone is either so advanced or just not that nice. I thought I could bond with some of the other girls there, but there aren't that many, and the ones that are here are not that nice to me. Once the head of product, he's a guy, was so rude and condescending to me after an apparently dumb suggestion I made that I almost cried on the spot and ended up crying in the bathroom. I feel like crying now, even thinking about it. I feel like crying. I feel like such a baby. How do I toughen up, or what should I do to not feel like such a young child here? Oh man. Okay, so this all comes down to time and practice with yourself, with self-assertive skills, sprinkled in with a little toxic work environment. But we'll get to that because that's almost the easier thing to deal with. And I'm going to tell you what I tell everybody all the time: get out, find another job. It's easier said than done, and you have to survive. Not only that, you have to actually find a way to figure out how to stand your ground, to stay respectful and calm in the scenario. Um, and I think that, these kind of self-assertive skills, you have to build the sort of a playbook with them. And the only way you really do that is by these experiences where people really push your buttons. But when you learn how to practice and assert yourself, this is going to translate to a whole range of social situations, right? That's not just work ones. The stakes are a little bit higher at work. Obviously, this is your livelihood. This is your income. This is hopefully a career building opportunity for you. So, um, it's really hard, and it's really a shame that people behave this way in the workplace. But I think you'd be surprised at how fragile these people are. Their behavior is so much more about them than it is about you. And it has so many more complexities than you even probably give it credit for. And this is not to kind of even give empathy towards them or forgive them for it, but it is certainly a way that you cannot take it so personally, because it feels super personal. More than likely, they are swinging their ego around for other people's benefit, and you're sort of the collateral damage, so to speak. And it's not right. But people do it all the time. They play these little power games. And some people aren't playing games. They're just jerks. Like, they just speak to people that way, or they just speak down to people, or they're condescending and rude. And it's annoying, and it's sad, and it sucks, because we spend so much time at work, and it's lost on me why people have that approach. So, you got to learn how to have some responses that you can use in the moment. Some of these are things that you will need to say out loud, and it's going to be difficult because, you're going to feel really nervous about it, and your voice is going to shake and quiver, and you might even cry. But it gets easier. I promise it gets easier. And the first time you sort of push back and say something, it might feel super emotional. It might feel emotional the 700th time that you do it. Especially the mean girl stuff. It sucks. I mean, listen, I'm 41 years old. I have done a lot of things in my career, and I still face these issues. Even within the last year, there were people that I did not want to work with because of this kind of power playing nonsense, like mean girl attitude. And I would say, you know who you are, but she definitely does not listen to this newsletter. Would love to call her out though. Because it's so unnecessary, and it's so petty, and it's so juvenile, that at this point in my career, I can actually 100% laugh it off and be like, okay, like, nice try, good job. And it's just like, no, thanks. Like, I don't have time for that shit. You know what I mean? Pardon my language, but I don't have time for that. It serves me zero purpose, and I'm certainly not going to get dragged into some sort of like, prove my validity power move with you. I have nothing to prove. And you'll get there in your career too. You'll get there, and I want that confidence for you to be like, you know what, dude, you know what, the petty things that you're saying, like I recognize what you're doing, and it's indifference from me. Okay. Like it doesn't phase me because um I know who I am, and I don't need to prove my worth to you. I need to exit stage left and go to a room where I am appreciated, and where even if I'm not, I don't need to be fawned upon, but I certainly don't need this attitude coming from you. Okay, obviously I have some personal beef that I still want to get off my chest. Like, but we all do. I think we've all been in situations, whether it's men or women. And I gotta say, it's disappointing when you're a woman and you get that from other women. It's disappointing. So those are the kinds that hit me extra hard, I think, because I'm very supportive. I try to be, and I certainly don't see why you shouldn't be. Um at least I try. I mean, that being said, I am an insufferable know-it-all, so I'm sure I'm not everybody's cup of tea as well. Okay, let's get to the point though. Let me help you with a couple key phrases that I think are important to keep in your back pocket. Literally, get on your phone, make a video, record yourself practicing and saying these things. Every time a man is condescending to you in a meeting or is mansplaining something to you, you're going to be caught off guard. I'm even caught off guard by it. And I think, you know, if you're generally a pleasant person, you default to trying to smooth things over and make it okay. So don't beat yourself up if you're like, oh, like I let him get away with that. It's okay. Like, honestly, it's fine. But there is going to be a point where you're going to catch it. You know, fool me once, fool me twice, Bianca, fool me the third time. And so you're going to want some things to say in your back pocket that you've rehearsed and that you know well. It's really hard to be creative and snappy just right in the moment. So I highly encourage you to literally practice this, play it back for yourself, and show your friend, send it to your bestie, like see what they think, and you'll just like feel better practicing it. I mean, who doesn't? I mean, maybe this is like sharing my crazy, but who doesn't like repeat conversations in your head of things that you wish you should have said? So this is your chance to get ahead of that, right? Okay. So couple things that I think in the moment, especially that moment where, oh, you're like almost wanted to cry and this dude was rude and dismissive to you. It's so unnecessary. So, um, you know, it's tricky when there are people that are your superior, so to speak. And boy, some of these people let you know that, right? But you know, depending on what the dynamics are, depending how comfortable you are, I'm going to give you, and everyone else hopefully listens to this, some examples of things that you can say. Watch my body language. Watch exactly what I do. The first thing I'm going to show you is this. It's a pause. It's a nothing. It's a look of, are you quite finished? And that's sort of what you can think. You can have a pleasant smile on your face, but you certainly want to adjust your body language, control your facial muscles to communicate that what they're saying is, if not inappropriate, certainly going to deafen the room with silence because it really wasn't a welcomed comment. Um, After that kind of stone silence, you can just literally continue your sentence. Now, this is a pretty big, ballsy move, and certainly um, something that is pretty dismissive of what another person is speaking to you about. And sometimes it's warranted. Sometimes when somebody is going off on an absolute tangent or being so incredibly inappropriate, you know, you're not going to be able to change their behavior at the time, but you can absolutely communicate non-verbally that it wasn't okay. And then keep it moving, keep it going, perhaps address it later, but your non-response is probably going to be the most powerful thing in some situations. There's plenty of other verbal things that you can say. And again, there is delivery here, your tone of voice. has to be calm, has to be direct, and it has to be not in a well, don't mind quivering. Like I said, you might quiver, but when you're building up to it, it has to be more monotone the way that my voice sounds now. Matter of fact, and not disrespectful, but certainly just I'm not questioning myself, right? So something like, John, I appreciate the comment. I've got this. It's actually a really pleasant thing to say. It's actually a fine thing to say, and acknowledging John and what he'd said, but putting it back on you. I've got this, and just carry on. Like, thanks for mansplaining, but we're good here. Another one is, let me continue. And if there's a question or a concern, we can address them once I finish. This is essentially saying, please don't interrupt. One of my favorite things as well, when somebody is interrupting you, is just to say, I'd like to finish my thought, John. Thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and finish now. And insert your thought there. Most of the time, it really puts people out on their back heels and they're like, oh my gosh. And when they get called out like that, they absolutely apologize to you. So I think simply saying that is always fine. And again, when you say it in a nice, polite way, you say, hey, no worries, it happens, and just move on. You just move on. Let's see, other ones I wrote down. John, I'd appreciate if you waited until you heard everything that I have to say until you make a comment. This is a little more terse. This is a little more like, I need you to stop speaking because I'm not done and you are speaking over me. So this is a little bit more assertive to say, you need to stop talking now. Thank you very much. I'm going to finish and then you may speak. It really does assert your control over the conversation and what you're saying. There's a gentler way to also kind of bring up like, hey, you're over explaining something, or you're explaining a concept in a condescending way that is not helpful. So you could say something like, your comment makes me wonder if it might be helpful to let you know my background. Because there's sometimes when people start explaining concepts that you are extremely well versed in. This is like the crux of mansplaining, right? Women can do this too, though. Women can mansplain to other women, and it's just super condescending and annoying. And to take that beat and for them to kind of go, oh, like, I didn't realize I just did that, seeing how they respond to that, I think is really useful. There's a simple one that I love too. Thanks, I have this under control. It's similar to that first one of, I've got this. I have this under control. No need to step in this presentation. I'm okay. Another one that I think is again, they're getting terser as we go here, but you too need to sort of step it up sometimes if people won't let it go. Yes, I do understand the fundamentals of insert concept here. And we can move on to more nuanced discussion that I'd like to focus on. Essentially saying like, you don't need to explain the basics to me. I got it, but we're talking about it in a more complex way. So please join us, right? That's the unprofessional way to say it. But, yes, I understand the fundamentals of financial statements. I actually literally had to say that once in a meeting to my lawyer. It was a moment. Anyway, ultimately, like if you are going to address this directly with this person and you want to have a conversation, definitely try to do it one-on-one. Don't do it at the moment. If there's just like one person who keeps doing this to you, and you can build up the courage to eventually pull them aside or have a little chat and say, hey, whenever we speak about financial statements, you tend to interrupt me, you tend to talk over me, you tend to try to explain fundamental concepts to me that I already have well in hand. So since we're both professionals here, I'd just like to move forward with trust and respect for each other's work. Is that okay with you? What do you think about that? Having an open communication about it and an open conversation, and really giving the other person the benefit of the doubt. Like I mentioned, these people are fragile, but they're also incredibly self-aware a lot of the time, that they're not doing it intentionally to hurt you. They're not even, trying to make you feel bad. Sometimes they are, but how they respond to that conversation will be really telling for you so that you know. Now, okay, these are like the communication things that you can do. And oh my gosh, there's so many people that are better than me at this and have written books and online courses and stuff. I really, really, really recommend self-assertive communication skills, like researching that, figuring that out. Again, it's not just about work, it's about life and how you take up space in the world and how you self-advocate. And I completely understand, as a young woman in tech, it's a male-dominated industry, it's a lot of bro culture, and even the other women who you would hope to be your friends get wrapped up into it, and there's this mean girl mentality, and it's really, really difficult to navigate. So here's some other survival tips outside of the communication things to learn. And certainly, I think you should earn your stripes there, and you should practice, and you should consider this a little bit of a practice arena for you so that, you can learn how to stick up for yourself. But outside of that, you need to find your own tribe, right? You're being attacked, you're not really like in a welcome environment. So it is very important for you to surround yourself with people who really understand you and who you vibe with and who you can be comfortable around. Whether that's inside or outside of work. Hopefully you can find at least one ally, within the workplace that you just get along with, that you enjoy having lunch with, that you just can enjoy and talk about the workday with and survive. Someone that will have your back and someone that you can have their back too. So, certainly look for your tribe. Um, I say also, like, try to emulate and be the person that you want to see. Be the leader that you think you need. Okay, you're the new girl right now, you're the young girl right now, but you won't always be. And it doesn't even matter how old you are, how inexperienced you are, you can assert leadership skills and, you know, embody the type of leadership that you would like to see in the world. So, one of the most important qualities that I think sounds like it would suit you is focusing on how you can lift other people up, focusing on how you can support your teammates, being vocal about praise for other people and encouraging of the other people that you are surrounding yourself with, regardless of how their attitudes are back to you. It's just not about like being fake and like kissing people's asses. It's really about, genuinely wanting the best for those around you and genuinely, making sure that you're not shy to vocalize that, that you are a supportive person. So eventually, there will be the up and comers, younger than you, and not far along. Okay, in 6 months, there's going to be a new hire who has their head swirling just like you. And so you are going to get the opportunity way sooner than you even think to show those leadership skills and embody again the spirit of what you'd like to see in the world. That being said as well, this is a hard one. Can't say that I've always been successful at this, but it is sage advice, and the advice is to not gossip. It's so hard. When people are just being nasty to you, like, you need to vent and get it all out, right? But my suggestion is to vent to people outside of work. There's a bunch of vipers at your work, and so you cannot trust these people. You cannot be loose-lipped about your opinions on, Mary Jane and Elizabeth and whoever else. Like, you really need to keep it tight. So don't fall into the trap of starting to gossip, or say something that is cruel about somebody else just because they're being cruel to you. It's really easy to start acting like a mean girl when you're in a mean girl environment because you think that, well, this is what I have to do to play the game and whatever else, but you don't. You really don't. The way that they're behaving is, again, all about their own insecurities, all about their own power struggles with themselves, and really just their own unhappiness. So, is this a toxic work culture? Yes. Okay. I've worked for plenty of startups, plenty of tech industries. I've worked with many men and women who are super cool. I've worked with some of the best people ever. And when you're in an environment where there is a supportive atmosphere, the innovation is better, the productivity is better, you can bring your full self to work. that's why I do what I do. I want people to genuinely experience that because I've had super great experiences like that, and they're attainable. We can all get there. So, this ain't it. This just ain't it. So while you are surviving this, know that this is wrong. It's not great. Find another job. Don't worry about job hopping. Just go find one. You will land in a place where you will thrive, but that will take time. It might take you 6 months. It might take you a year. And that's a long ass time to try to survive, this nasty little culture. So anyway, practice those, one-liners, those phrases that I brought up to you. Look into self-assertive communication skills and how you can advocate for yourself, take up space confidently, shoulders back, chin up. You got this. Okay. Thank you so much for listening to my TED Talk here on how to stand up to people in work environments, especially when you're a young lady and maybe even not so young of a lady. If you just don't naturally have the personality to advocate for yourself, then it's a skill that you can learn. And trust me, you can definitely learn it. So thanks everybody. Thanks for joining the Blank Weekly Newsletter 101.